Welcome, Aaron and Mila, to Cantissimo Senior Living's video on fractional ownership. Thank you for being here to discuss this subject. I know that you own some property via this method in Canada. Can you tell me how you first thought about getting into fractional ownership?
Well, Mila and I we were looking to actually look to purchase our own property, our own cottage. But we looked at all of the housekeeping that's involved in owning your own property. And one of my business partners had mentioned to me about this concept of fractional ownership that one of his friends was doing. And it sounded great in the fact that you didn't have to worry about maintenance, you didn't have to worry about cleaning or anything like that. You just show up and you own the cottage for X number of weeks, and you know your weeks as you progress every year. So it just seemed like a good concept for someone that really doesn't want to show up and have to do work before I can start to enjoy my week or enjoy my weekend or whatever it was. So that's really what sort of brought us into that, as well as the fact that cottages at the time were, very expensive. And to look at something like that, and for what we would get use out of it in our area here, unless it's a winterized, 12-month usage, it really didn't make much sense for us to invest that amount of money. This worked out best for our situation.
Yeah. Aaron's not very handy, so it works out really well because we don't have to do any maintenance.
Oh, now that's great. So you really can't, even if you wanted to, you really can't because it's all set up. They'll mow the lawns, they'll do any repairs, that kind of thing. Okay, all right. So how long have you owned your part of the cottage?
In April of 2019, we went in with this venture to go ahead. We were fortunate enough that when we were first looking to get into this certain property, a group of properties, we there wasn't anything available on there. We went through their salespeople, and we were just on a waiting list to get on. But fortunately, I was on Kijiji, and I was researching myself, doing my own research on fractional cottage ownership, and was able to find an actual person that had ownership already that were looking to sell, but not through the salesperson.
Oh, I see.
So we were able to get in at that point through that. And luckily for us, it was actually at the week that we normally would go out and rent a cottage. So everything's just sort of fit in for us in that, because there are some limitations in fractional cottage ownership that we were looking at also.
Okay, well that's a good segue. I wanted to know, what do you like overall about the idea of fractional ownership, and what don't you like about it?
Well,
it's the thing that I don't like about it is like you can't just go whenever you feel like going to the cottage or to the cabin. Oh, this weekend I'm free. Let me go drive to the cottage. You can't do that because you have your set weeks that you pick a year in advance. So, you still could plan it in advance because you get your weeks a year in advance, but you just can't pick up and go anytime you want.
Yeah, and for the most part, I love the convenience of this. Like you show up there, things are already done. You walk in, the place is spotless. Everything is there. They cater for the place that we were in is 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms. It sleeps 10 people. They have settings and everything for 10 people. So you don't have to worry. You're not showing up with a bunch of things. It's located in a great location where you're only about 20 minutes from the town. You can go in there. There's grocery stores. So you're not lugging all these things with you. So I think that's one of the great aspects of it, is that there's just a lot of conveniences. But like as Mila was getting to, the things that aren't convenient is that you just can't decide I'm going to show up. I mean, you could probably show up, but I'm sure the owners that are there are going to be happy. but that's the only real setback I find with this is really that, because you get in when you get in, you have your fixed week, which is your summer week,
Yes.
and that week is really what you're getting there, what
Yeah.
you want from there,
Yeah.
because that's your solid week throughout your whole ownership.
Yeah.
And for us, it's the second week in July. So
Okay.
we know the second week in July, which is the week that we would always go out and rent a cottage for.
Yeah.
That's your week constant.
Okay.
And then things change with what they call your floating weeks, and we can talk about that a little bit later on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, we're going to talk about scheduling in a bit.
Yes.
So those are some of the things that are the pros and cons of it. Thinking back to when you were looking, you mentioned that you'd heard about it via word of mouth, correct?
Correct.
And then you did some research on your own, further than that, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. So how was it? Were you able to find much information when you did your research?
Actually, yes. I just basically typed in fractional ownership, and I was looking for a certain area in Ontario we were looking for, and I just basically typed that in, and there's a bunch of information telling you, different the goods, the bads, about it, and that's really what we based it on was some of those conversations. And the fact that, with that, we were able to find someone looking to sell at the same time, things just sort of aligned perfectly for us at that point.
Great.
Now, when I first heard of it, I thought, oh, I thought it was like a timeshare,
Yes.
and
Yes.
I didn't think you would be an owner
Mhm.
and things. And then once Aaron researched it and then he informed me all about it, then I felt a little bit more, comfortable with it.
Yes.
But in the beginning, I was kind of a little bit, weary about it.
Well, that's a good point. It's often mistaken for timeshares. People don't
Hmm.
understand timeshares frequently or know what they are. Fractional ownership is a new concept. So it sounds like perhaps you were even a little nervous that it might be a scam of some kind.
Yeah. I was anyway. Especially when he said that he found it in Kijiji.
Well, at the end, but the reality was I did know someone that I trusted that did know someone that was part of this. I was able to talk to those interval owners also a little bit about it also before we actually went ahead and did it. We did do some of our homework and a little bit of due diligence before this thing went in, but it is a bit it is different than a timeshare.
Okay.
You are deeded an actual thing that you can actually turn around and easily, if you wanted to, sell.
Okay. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. Going back to scheduling, you mentioned you have your fixed week during the summer.
Hmm.
And then you have, by my understanding, 3 other weeks that are in each season. And then there's a fifth week that's a floating week. And it sounds almost really complicated, except for the 1 week that is always there. How do the other weeks get scheduled?
So actually, the way to do it is they try and make it as fair as possible for all the interval owners. So the way it is, we're in a cottage and it's called Cottage 5. There's 7 cottages on this property, and we're in Cottage 5. So we own one interval in Cottage 5, and there's only 10 intervals in each cottage.
Okay.
So we're 1/10 of an owner in
Yeah.
this one particular cottage on the property.
Mm-hmm.
Basically what they do is you have your fixed week, and for us it's the third. Where they call it week 3 or number 3. So their third summer week is what we have. That's
Sure.
fixed.
Mhm.
Then they have fall, winter. Yeah,
spring.
sorry, fall and winter, and then spring and fall, spring and alternate. So you're able to then those weeks you have a list. So they set it up as, for when we first started out, we were given the numbers 4 and 7.
Mhm.
So we had 4 picks for spring and fall, and then 7 picks for winter and alternate. And the alternate falls under all of the things that would have spring break, Christmas weeks, all
Okay.
the more important weeks and New Year's and stuff, that falls under alternate. So then you'll have that. So if I was looking, say, for example, for spring, I would get 4 picks. So I put in my 4 number one rated from 1 to 4, the weeks, the 10 weeks that they have for spring. That's what I'll put it in, my top picks. And then I will do the same for fall, and then the winter. I would then have my 7 picks. So I put in 7 weeks that I would like, and the same thing with the alternates. And then they'll go through that, and then a matter of elimination, because some people may have 1 and 10. So if they had 1, then they have 1 number that they put in. So they're typically going to get it because it's only 1 choice. They'll get that 1 choice.
Sure.
But in their 10th week, they may get whatever is left over.
Okay.
Because there are 10 picks in that week, right? So somebody may have 1 pick during that time frame. So that's basically how it's set up. It's really, when you look at it, it looks a little complicated, but then when you start doing it and they send you all the information and you just send your choices in, and we have to have our choices in by May, and we know pretty much the end of May or June,
a couple of weeks.
What our weeks are for the following year.
Okay.
So you can plan. You're able to plan.
Interesting.
So
it sounds a little complicated at first, but then it sounds.
but it really isn't. It really isn't when you look at it, and it rotates. So this year I might be 4 and 7. Next year I might be 5 and 6. And it just goes like that. Then I'll eventually become 1 and 10. So everybody, over that period of time, everyone's going to have an opportunity to get what they want at some point, but you're not always going to get the weeks that you want. For example, this year we ended up with a spring week that's going to be like April 24th to May 1st. That's really not a really great spring week, and things might still be wet and stuff, right? So I mean, those are the sort of things that may happen, but you just have to deal with it. The same thing for your winter weeks, depending when in winter you end up there. That's the thing. That's what you have to deal with. But it's fair for everybody because everybody's in the same boat, right? So
is there anything you would want to improve about that scheduling? Is there anything, or is it just it seems to be working? So
it seems to be working. I mean, everybody thinks that it seems to be a fair way of doing things when I look at it. But I mean, we also have the options too, that we can go on the website and we can approach other interval owners within the same cottage and do trades. So if somebody really didn't want something, they can always put it out there. Hey, is anybody willing to trade this week for another week? And what I'm finding now too is some people, the summer week is not a big deal for them. They like the fall weeks way better. They like the winter weeks better. They like it a little more quiet, or they like the changing of scenery, the changing of leaves. And we're finding this the same for us. We never in our wildest dreams ever thought we would want to go to a cottage in the winter. I mean, that's never something I would have ever thought. But we've been there now, like for 3 years, and we enjoy it. I can't believe, we're out snowshoeing in the winter on the lake. When people are cross-country skiing on the lake, people are setting up ice rinks. It's so nice because the cottage itself is very comfortable. It's a very comfortable place. It's set up right by very close to the water. Your views are always the lake. It's all windows. It's very nice setup. So we never in our minds ever thought that would be something we would ever want to pay for or consider. But man, I love my summer week. But some of these weeks that we're getting now in the fall and stuff is just really makes it worth it.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
You mentioned there's 10 owners. And so one of the things I've read about, and that we cover in our ebook for Cantissimo Senior Living about second homes, is that when there are multiple owners, there's always the situation where you have to get everybody organized to make decisions and things like that. So how is governance of the property handled?
Well, we have the AGM meetings, so there's the board of directors. The board of directors are typically interval owners that are set up to be a president, a treasurer, secretary, all those sort of things that they would normally have. We have these general meeting, and in that people bring up whatever they want to have done at the cottages. But the thing to remember, as you said, there's 10 owners. So if there's something that's very specific to the cottage that somebody wants to put out there, then they would put that out, and then all the other interval owners are able to then vote whether, yes, we think this is essential or non-essential. And if it's something that is exceeding a certain amount, then the cottage owners themselves can say, okay, we're willing, between the 10 owners, split this with 10 ways and have it done, or it's handled within the maintenance of the property if something had to be done. But they have everything that they have there right now basically has a certain shelf life. So the sofas and stuff that they provide, the sofa beds and stuff, the beds and everything else, they may be a 10-year lifespan. A lot of the other things, your dishwashers, appliances and stuff, maybe a 3 to 5, whatever time lifespan. Like for us, we just had a new barbecue to put at the cottage. So as everything goes through, unless it's something very different, then you have to really worry about getting everybody's consensus. And you have to remember, it's 7 cottages. What happens in cottage 1 is really not my concern, or cottage 2, cottage 3, cottage 4, other than cottage 5, that is my concern. So whatever happens there, unless there's something major that needs to be done or restored, then it becomes more of an issue. But for the most part, what we're finding now is when people need something or they're interested in something, they just send a general email. So there's a general email for all the interval owners in cottage 5, and they send that out, and then everybody just sort of responds.
Just want to give you an example. In cottage 4, there was a woman that had hip surgery, so it was very hard for her to go down the stairs because the stairs didn't have railings. So they put out, basically an email saying, is it okay if the maintenance guy build a railing so that I can go down the stairs? So they had to agree to that, and so they build stairs for railing for the stairs.
Okay.
So
For that
things like
individual.
that. Yeah.
Okay, so just so I understand, I know that there are multiple cottages in this development, and you have cottage number 5, you said.
5, yes.
And then but the board of directors is governance over all the cottages as a whole in there. Okay,
That
so
is
that's
correct.
one level of governance. And then there's the individual cottage itself, where you and the other 9 owners work together to have things that are specific to your cottage, that if you want something done.
That's correct.
Okay.
And unless it's out of the realm of what the normal maintenance is. So the cottages are rented out for 50 weeks.
Yep.
Well, there's the 10 intervals, 5 weeks interval for intervals for owners. So there's the 50 weeks. The other 2 weeks are considered maintenance weeks. So there's a maintenance week in the spring, a maintenance week in the fall. So a lot of the external parts of the building is taken care of. So they'll come in, they assess the eaves troughs, like they've just put in new eaves troughs. They assess the window trims, the screens for the screened-in porch. They do all these different assessments, and that's when they do those types of work. Is to try and get most of those things. If trees have to be cut down because they're dried out or whatever else pose a danger, they'll come in and do those sort of things at that point.
Okay. So overall, do you feel like the way that the things are governed, the board of directors for their overall, and the way that the cottage itself is managed, that meets your satisfaction, or are there some improvements that you think can be made to that?
Well, I think for the most part, I'm very satisfied with it.
Mhm.
The way it's done. These people are volunteering their time
Sure.
for these things.
Yeah.
They are elected, so they're elected by all of us. Elect them into their positions, but they are at the end of the day volunteering their time and efforts to make this place a beautiful facility or beautiful spot for all of us. So I look at the some of the stuff that's done, and everything is very transparent. They, at the AGMs, we everything, all the topics are brought up from the year before. They go through all the checklists. Right now, we've been doing it all by Zoom, so everybody's doing it by Zoom. I guess this year, hopefully, we won't have to do that. We'll actually go back to a location, but we'll see what
Sure.
happens. But and then all of the finances for the property are all audited statements that they submit and
Okay.
supply. So for this year, we will see next year, we'll see it at the AGM meetings, whatever was done by the accounting firm to audit all of the stuff. So when you go and you're seeing everything, so you're seeing exactly how all the money's being spent
Sure.
and stuff. So because there is one other thing, there is a maintenance fee. We
Yes.
do
Yes.
pay a
And
maintenance fee.
I was
Yeah.
gonna cover that. Yes.
Yes.
So you mentioned the acronym AGM.
Yes. So the annual general meeting.
Oh, I see what you mean. So that's where
Yes.
that's covered, and then it's the board of directors who makes the presentation of the financials and so forth.
That's
Yes.
correct.
Okay.
Mhm.
So attending at that meeting and presenting, they will also have the salesperson for the corporation
Yes.
there to talk about recent sales or resales and how the value of these things are, how they're progressing of their, for when they're being resold, what the waiting lists are, because that's the situation we have right now. There's a big waiting list for people trying to get into these properties,
Interesting.
right? So which is works out really well because you know that whatever investment you made is still going up,
Yes.
which works out well, which is not always the case if you're looking at other things, right?
Yes.
So there is that, and the property manager does a presentation. We have our maintenance guy that submits some of the stuff that's being done, and then they discuss all the stuff with the cleaners. Because I tell the way this works, those cleaners are great. They come in, and when you walk into your facility for the first time, as you come in, the place is just
Clean.
immaculate.
Yeah.
You feel so happy when you walk in because you don't have to worry about anything. You just start enjoying. You open your
Sure.
bottle of wine and you do what you got to do
Oh,
after.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. So you mentioned the original selling company, and they're continually involved. Are they also the property management company, or is that a separate thing?
Well, as far as I know, they must be in charge of the property manager. They must be handling that end of it. The property manager, the maintenance person, and the cleaners. But
Yeah.
all of that actually comes out. I've been thinking about it. I think that's handled by the board of directors because that's all listed in the budgets.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when we're about the maintenance fee, we pay a maintenance fee of $3,000 for the year
Hmm.
for this to stay there, and
Hmm.
that covers all of your insurance. It covers hydro. It covers your satellite TV. It covers all the maintenance, all the cleaning, everything else that's required for that property. Which is one of the things I loved also, that not having to worry about that and buying your own cottage and you have these bills coming every month. We pay that one time thing and we know everything's covered within
Okay.
that. And there's no other surprises. There's nothing else coming at you. This is your fixed cost for the year. And unless there's something dramatically go wrong and it's outside the budgets for maintenance or repair, then you may get something else. But we've been there 4 years and we've never had anything come up.
Okay. So it sounds like you're satisfied for the value of what you're paying every year as a maintenance fee, and the property management company is delivering the value that you would expect.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, 100% satisfied.
Now, speaking of money, you mentioned that one of the reasons that you were interested in this concept is that you were able to acquire use of a cottage for much less than if you had bought something completely 100%. I'm just wondering, I'm not looking for numbers, but did you end up financing your purchase of your 1/10?
Well, fortunately for us, we didn't have to. Well, we
Okay,
were
good.
able to go and do that. But I know one of the situations you would have is most banks are going to not be that interested in it
That's what I
because
wanted to ask, is if banks,
yes, because
you're hearing
I did
about this.
talk to that. They're not because you're not. It's not a full ownership, so it's not something they can go take a tenth of it.
Yeah.
So they're really not that interested. But you can probably go through the banks through a credit line and
Yes.
use a credit line against your own property or whatever,
Yes.
and then do it that way. But fortunately for us, we didn't have that situation. But I know that is a limitation that you just can't go get a mortgage on
It's not a regular
fractional ownership.
mortgage. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
you won't be able
Yes.
to get something like that. You would have to get an outside loan or something else.
Okay. Okay. Do you have to pay any of your own insurance for any of this, or is that all included in your existing fees?
That's all included in
And
the
the
existing
maintenance,
fees.
yeah.
Yeah, we really have no other outlay other
Oh,
than
wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That
Mhm.
is awesome. So I was wondering another thing. Are you able to rent your weeks out to someone else?
Yes,
Yes.
you are.
Okay.
So basically, when you join this, you actually get registered with RCI also, which is a platform for renting timeshares and all different things.
Okay.
But we within the group, we have a website, and on the website you can list what if there's one of the weeks out of your 5 weeks you're not interested in, you can either list it there and people have the opportunity to rent it from you. That's also people looking on the manufacturer's website, person that made the
Companies,
properties,
Sure.
yeah, the property management people. They have their website that you can list it on, and then people can go and look at that
Interesting.
and do it that way. But we just had the situation. There was someone within our cottage. They couldn't use their spring week, and they put it out to the 10 interval owners, and then
Yep.
they would also list it on the website. So anybody from one of the other cottages, from cottage 1 to cottage 7, or the other cottages, can look
Yep.
at it and say, hey, we don't mind taking that week. So it's not very difficult to rent out your weeks. We see people doing that quite a bit. We haven't done it. We've always wanted to
To go there. Yeah.
to be up there, but people are doing that, and it's people have different situations, right? And the other thing that they have, instead of renting, they will trade.
Oh,
So
yes. You mentioned
so
that.
we can
Yeah.
trade a spring week for a fall week,
Mhm.
and just all we have to do is register that trade or register that change of week with the property manager, and that's all it is. There's no
Oh, that's
fees to
good.
do it or anything. You just register that so that they know who's going to be in the dwellings or in the facility in the cottage.
Oh, that's very flexible. There are things
It's
in my
extremely
region, yes,
flexible.
that sometimes fractional ownership arrangements don't allow that. So that's
Yeah.
really
Ah,
great
yeah.
flexibility.
Yeah.
What are opportunities for community? Do you get to know your neighbors? People are having all kinds of different times and things like that. So do you get to know people up there?
Pretty much. I mean, you get to know the people that have the same week as you in the summer,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah,
Like you see them every summer.
yeah.
But, during the fall, spring, winter, like different people ask for different dates. So you get to meet different
Yeah.
people in the other cottages. So yeah.
Yeah. So what Mila was mentioning, so we're interval 3.
Mhm.
So everyone from cottage 1 to 7 that are interval 3, which is their third week of the summer,
Yeah,
they're pretty constant. So you're seeing
yeah,
them mostly every time that period of time,
yeah.
and then essentially after that you just meet people because there's communal areas. The fire pit is communal.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
the shed beside it where they stock. So that's the other thing. They stock firewood. Everything is stocked for you. You don't
Mhm.
have to go do anything. You have shared
Canoes.
amenities like the kayaks. There's kayaks, canoes, there's
Paddleboards,
stand-up paddle boards. They supply all the life jackets. There's
bikes.
rowboats. There's mountain bikes that they have up there already. They'll have like 4 mountain bikes, 4 canoes, 4 kayaks, those sort of things. So everybody gets to use it and put it back, those sort of, and share it, which is very convenient
Oh,
when
that
you're
sounds
up
good.
there. And we've found so far, we've never had a situation where you're trying to use something and you don't have access to it. And people are very conscious to make sure that they're not taking something and then just keeping it for the entire day. Things are brought back, put back, so everybody has an opportunity. So community wise, yeah, we've had situations where we're around the campfire, people come around, they join us, somebody brings a guitar. It's nice. It's because people are pretty much friendly. We haven't really gotten into anything where nobody wanted you to be around. I mean, obviously during the COVID times when those things were a little bit different, but for the majority of the times, people are pretty social. If they see you at the dock and you're sitting at the dock, people will come by, they'll sit and talk with you. Everybody has a drink and you're just passing by and just saying hi or whatever it is. And the property itself is on 12 acres. So you're walking, you're hiking through different things. So yeah, you're seeing different people on your trails. You're seeing different people in their driveways as you're walking past their driveway. Everybody seems to want to talk or communicate.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, kind of, it sounds like you have a really good experience. For anyone considering fractional ownership along the lines, what would you give for advice to people looking into this?
Be flexible. I guess.
Yeah, that's a very important one, the flexibility, because at the end of the day, you are only a 10th owner. You've got your weeks, it's not like you can just wake up and say, "Hey, I'm going to the cottage." That doesn't happen. You can't really do that. So I think that's probably one of the main things. But for us, we found that it was just such a convenient thing to be able to, yeah, we know our 5 weeks, we show up, we don't have the worries of if something fell on a cottage that you own, if the power went out the cottage you owned, and who's going to go up there and fix something, who's going to take the docks out of the water, who's going to put the docks back in the
Sure. Yeah.
like all of these things are things it really steered me away from owning a separate properties that I would have to go and deal with.
Yeah.
So this seemed to be the best thing for someone like myself, but my wife was very eager to put out that I'm not very handy. But at the end of the day, I think there's a lot of people like myself that when they show up, my whole thing, I don't want to show up and have to cut grass. I don't want to trim anything. I just want to open that door. I want to crack open something. And, for Mila, she makes, one of the things we do have there that we broke touch base with is you are able to make that property when you arrive, make it your own. You can decorate it the way you want, within reason. You're allowed 2 bins. We have 2 large bins there that we keep stuff in. And in those bins, we will have sofa covers, cushions, different tablecloths, different lanterns, and when Mila arrives, the first hour she sets up everything, so it just looks like it's our own thing, And at the end of your stay, you pack it up, put it in your bin. It's back underneath in the crawl space where everybody has a space, and you go away, and the next person coming can do the exact same thing. For Christmas, we were up there, we had our Christmas tree, we had all different things out there to make it to make it feel like it's your own, because essentially, your 5 weeks when you're up there, that is your cottage. So we make sure we feel that is ours, and it's set up that way. But that would be the main things for us. That convenience. I don't have to drag a kayak. I don't have to try and pull a canoe on my top of my truck. I don't have to do any of those things. Those things are already there for me. My concerns as I feel is that I have ice. something cold to drink, those sort of things that to me makes it more enjoyable, because then I get to enjoy my entire week that we're there. So
Oh,
I think that's the main thing. The biggest drawback, like Mila was saying, you do not have that all the time. So you plan. And the big thing for us, we also like to do other travel. So
yes,
we may want to do other types of vacations, so which works out well. So we can still do this, and then we have other things we can still do.
Yeah.
sure, sure.
Yeah.
So you don't feel like when you go away on another vacation that you have another cottage sitting empty that you're
Yeah, correct.
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And like I said, this place is used for 50 weeks throughout the year.
Yeah.
So people are up there every time we're up there. Some people in the winter months may only come up Thursday to Sunday. Some people may only come up, a few other days. We're up there for a week. We might see other people up there for the week. So you get to enjoy that and enjoy the seasons without worried about having to get your water shut down, because the place is always being used.
Sure.
So you don't have to worry about any of that, any pipes freezing or anything to that nature. So we're pretty much 100% happy with this decision for fractional ownership. And I think it's a great concept for people like myself, and for us, it's a good concept. Maybe not for everybody, but for us, it just seems to work out. And this is something, for our kids. We've got 2 older kids, and this can be deeded to them. So it's not like it just ends. This thing we have in our lives for as long as we want. And when they decide, we decide we don't want to do, they can just deed it over to them. And that's not an issue. That's part of the agreement. That's part of everything in place, is that is something that's a simple thing to do.
That is great. Well, it sounds overall your experience with fractional ownership has been quite positive. I think the information that you've shared with us today has been fantastic. I really appreciate your time, and thank you very much. And enjoy your wonderful cottage.
Yes, absolutely.
The fraction that you own it.
Yeah. Well,
Thank you.
If I get an opportunity, I'll send you some pictures. You'll see why.
I can't wait. Thanks you both.
Okay, take
Thank
care.
you.
Bye-bye.